Hello, one test. Hello, one test. Hello, one test, guys. Hello, one test, guys. I'm home and dry. Chikara chasvika kumba. I'm home and dry, and I'm safe. I'm home and dry, and safe as usual. 200 hours ndopatotanga noise mseke. Tutanga 200 hours ndopatotanga noise kuita mseke. But anyway, pindaiti tikurukure naye. Pindaiti kurukure. Makanzwa mazano achimba mazano. Hanzi isusu number 1 Emmanuel 𝗜𝘁𝘀 Ngoma Thompson zviri sei. Ndapinda sifa stawo zviri kufamba here. Makanzwa mazano achimba hanzi mayuthi mberere nenyika vamwe vakagarika zvavo mudzimba ana Yudha mberere hanzi Yudha mberere nenyika. Hanzi Yudha anota mberere nenyika. Zvakanaka izvozvo. Bavulani Bungeni zviri sei. Wanda Chuma, a nice mukoma Yudha back from Leeds. Ndadzoka kubva kuLeeds naye. Ndasvika kumba. Mushonga munya talent mashandise zviri kufamba here. Tino zviri sei. Dhiri hora iro vanogara mudhiri dhiri hora rembanje vanogara mudhiri vakomana vanogara mudhiri dhiri hora rembanje vanogara mudhiri usatambe navo. Hanzi nhasi topic ndeye kudini. We are talking about corruption in Zimbabwe. Our topic today, it's about corruption. I want to tumboradza vanhu veZimbabwe that you might think it's hanzi sanctions. Hanzi sanctions Albert Mukanda Zudha wavanhu zviri sei. Ndakasimba mukoma Albert zviri kudini. Sera Sharane wako zviri kufamba here. Yes zviri kudini wakomana vandapotsa kumhoresa musagumbuka. Musadofa makagumbuka zvenyu. Ndoitwa 𝗫𝗁𝘁𝗀 Yudha naye ndauya kuti zokurukura. We're going to talk about corruption. Corruption mambozo nechitaura iri kuprison yakanyanya. Ndapinda. Jola zviri sei. Gift hove zviri kufamba here. Tarusar Salan zviri kufamba here. Hanzi Vena kasonga kama 1 pachine pamwe mudhara tamboonana. Abi zviri sei. Kelvin Jazire zviri kubatana here. Saidi dhiri hora iro vanogara mudhiri dhiri hora rembanje vanogara mudhiri vakomana vanogara mudhiri dhiri hora rembanje vanogara mudhiri musatambe navo. Mapinda mukoma happy naye. Namwene Obet mukudzei musodza zviri kudini. Alec Kondowe namwene zviri kufamba. Blessing Matwenga hanzi tete tudo bema. Bektemba zviri sei sweetheart mukudzei chimwe changu. Hanzi shamu shiri dzinodya. Andalaika bra motivation is making us strong day by day. Thank you so much. Mkoma Nobet hanzi andigumbuki. Mkoma Nobi ndakupotsa naye pandakuona madzoka zvine power. Atete Barbara mnawa zviri kufamba wezhira hanzi wangu tapinda. Jones Mavura zviri kufamba sei mwana wamai. Ndakasimba ndoitwa 𝗫𝗁𝘁𝗀 Trevor hanzi amandawana mukoma Yudha matova kuLeeds here. Ndatodzoka kubva kuLeeds ndakumba. Chipfuwa miti Marshall. Big man, welcome. Thank you so much mwana wamai. 𝗵𝗶𝘁𝘁 zviri kudini. Muri sei mukoma. Muri yakasimba mwana wamai. Ndotyira yenyu kwamuri kumativi mana enyika maZimbabweans. PP zviri sei tinashe Machoban HG Stones hanzi handigumbuke. Ndakateerera mukoma. Thank you so much. I've greeted you. Vari kumaka chirungu chandotaura mazano. Tinashe zviri kufamba. Hanzi Paddy Mazefia zviri kudini mwana wamai. Yudha ndeipo wadzoka nguva ndichangosvika from Leeds. Ndamhara padeni naye musandityire. Vakulukuwa, you are a good driver. Yudha, thank you so much. I was driving an animal. I like the car. Tendai Sanchez zviri kufamba here. Chale Kanos zviri kufamba. Risk free Zola Apostle T Chiwenga. Life matters. Ndaona dzakapfeka don't kill Chiwenga please. Eddie Chris Komera Yuda, just a quick question. Pane incident yakaitika ku Zimbabwe recently ye female warden akatengesera female prisoner chicken. Zvobvumidzwa here? Hazvibvumirwe zvachose itori mhosva. Laureate Mapie zviri kufamba ri madla Nkosi Donald Nyakudya Doni zviri se Anton mwana wamai Gwande hanzi Lincoln Brown zviri kufamba here Mkoma Brown zviri kudini hanzi Mkoma Yuda Moroi makadii ndikuda let's tag a lot of people, let's come together taganai tuye vakomana taganai tuye vakomana mazanu pia vaswera vachichema vatsvaga zvekutsvagiridza zvashaika naye so what kakorera zviri kufamba mazanu atsvagiridza tsvagiridza. Hello, how are you my brother Brenda Mureyani zviri kudini mwana wamai ndakasimba kneel down pray for shepherd ndakasimba ndodada nemi mina mato yamunobata inondichengeta Edmo bebe zviri sei hanzi ujani bra yapila bebe linjani hanzi madla Yuda ndafunga dande unobvira semoto kutsva taura ako mwana wamai Peter Lenisundao zviri sei Sylvester Matende Mkoma Matende makadi Mkoma Sylvester naye Kadhibeti Dau hanzi todiko nevanhu vezanu todiko navo naye Mkoma Shapiro tichataura zvekuita nhasi wakutaura about corruption. Ukaona mazano achitaura unofunga kuti sanction ndo rakauraya nyika. Sanction rakauya nezuro. Sanction harina kana effect kana kuuraya nyika kwarakaita. I'm going to talk about corruption in ZANU-PF. It's like for the next 2-3 days we will be talking about corruption. We will be talking about corruption. We want people to see it's not sanction, but it's corruption. Sanction. Corruption. Ameno saka ndozvatira kutaura kuti vanhu vamusemu handitonyiko navanhu vezanu Mkomakazi mazanu avadzoreke vanhu ivava. Handimaona one of them kuchipingo uye nyaya yavaitaura yekuuraya vanhu. MaZANU-PF ezvinezvi vakungofamba vachiponda vanhu kuchiredzuka akadimbura mugadhi musoro kudimbura kudai kuenda nawo. So you see once you are a killer, once you kill you continue killing. But Big Mike Bwanje Mfumu Mulungu Aksogolo. Thank you so much my brother. Thank you Mkoma Mike. Andi Moreseo kani Mkoma give more kupenya makadi Williams T ndawana Mkoma iri say weekend yakanaka mwana wamai anatomboza nasi weekend kanachiko mhanya shera Leeds to and from Leeds. The journey is so interesting. It was so interesting. Ndachifamba drive animal namboro apa 4x4 ndikasimudza so ndikanzwa kuti unenge uri wega muroad uchidrive animal zvinofadza. Listen gentlemen, I know kuti a lot of people oza vanhu havafare nazvo but hapana zvekuzviita ona kana zviri zvaMwari. No one will reverse. No one will ever reverse. God chooses. God does his things. You cannot tell God what to do. And rule shava zino ziri say ateteru the makadima Zimbabweans. You need to look far right and look mese. Sakanya iripo ndekuti let's tag more people who want to talk about corruption. Ndongwa hanzi Mr. Yuda, how are you? Chale ziri say Mkoma chale modi ziri kufamba hanzi Mark Given Achmo wekwa choda uri sei mwana wamai hanzi esikani Mkoma Shepi ndakasimba mwana wamai zviri kufamba here. Hanzi sanction doesn't loot goridhe renyika Mkoma Livingston Muzereng zviri kufamba ka vamandlov so sen vakomana vakatakunda mazhanga zviri kufamba sei mandlov hanzi pfe ndapinda Mkoma mapinda hope kabaya zviri kudini mwana wamai sitokozere hlokana zviri kufamba here mwanangu mama makadi ndakasimba. Rekaitiani amaswera sei Mkoma ndaswera regai ndibvise munopisa saka ndoda kubvisa zhangi zvinorwadza vavengi zvandiri kuita zvinorwadza vavengi saka imimi imimi vavengi vangu munovaziva, vavengi vangu izanu. Atete Peshi, how are you? Rachel Sengame zviri sei, today am on time. Madzoka nguva yekuLeeds ndichatongopinda izvozvi. Atete Rashi Johnson zifuku hanzi mukoma Yuda ndeipi ndakasimba. Handimi matitsika kuYorkshire, ndandirimo muYorkshire nhasi ndikati varakashi vaya. Handokuudzai zvavaita varakashi. Varakashi vane dambudziko 1 rekuti kana vasinga understand masystems emunyika yeUK, vanomanya varakashi. Varakashi vafonera mapurisa eYorkshire. As Laureate mapm mwana vafonera mapurisa eYorkshire. Zvikanzi motikari yari kufamba nayo haina insurance. Asi mukoma wangu zviri sei, mwana wangu chiri kure zviri kufamba here munina hebeti mukumbira. Varakashi vaona pandabva kumba havana kuziva ndiri kufamba nemotikari ipi. Zvinonakidza stereke nachidhiraivha animal. Saka varakashi havasiziva ndiri kufamba nemotikari, vari confused, zviri kuvanetsa kuti munhu yarimbozvifambisa sei. Nachidhiraivha animal. Hanzi kana motaura zvecorruption musakanganwa kuti udzawo nyaya yechibage yakumbira ikangai tiri kutaura corruption. Anton zviri famba mukoma. Allen hanzi vavengi venyu Mr. Yuda ndo vavengi vangu. Thank you so much mukoma Leonard. Cledwin mataurwa Shapiro ndepi, it's been long kubva pakavharwa account iya. I am happy ndakuwana. Thanks mukoma Cledwin. Tripano Edi zviri sei, hanzi chine varakashi. Varakashi zvavaita manje. Regai ndikuudze chibharanzi chakaipa. Kana usingazive tinashe machobani namataldo. Hanzi they are confused and scattered. Definitely they are confused and scattered. Upenyu hwaYudha vaukwanisa varakashi. Handi makawanza wachimba kuZimbabwe. Zvikanzi Yudha aringoti mperere nenyika. Vamwe vakagarika zvavo. Hapana akagarika kuZimbabwe. Ndikutomberereka nenyika, ndikutoenjoya life. Hanzi ngativapedzere. Ndavapedzera nhasi. Zvavaita manje havana kuziva ndiri kudhiraivha motikari ipi. Vanga vachiona chivaudza ndiri kudhiraivha animal. Motikari yari yachidhiraivha vazoiona ndatosvika kuLeeds. Pandasvika kuLeeds ndo pandabuda nditsvaga tiketi. Ndo pavaona type yemotikari yandiri yachidhiraivha. Saka havana kuziva manje kuti motikari ikai kubva pandakaitenga ndakaitenga ndobva ndaisa insurance yakaine full MOT, ndobva ndakatoiteksa. Saka ndaichingoitira kuti ione kufamba from point A to point B. Saka ndadhiraivha animal nhasi, hana kufamba neX5. Hana kufamba neX5. Saka ivo valoga X5 yangu vakafamba ndiri kudhiraivha X5, ndobva vafonera mapurisa zvikanzi boss X5 ika I'm putting it off road, so I don't need to insure it and I don't need to tax it because I'm putting it off road. Ndakatenga a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, so I'm taking X5 off road. Andoona saka varakashi kudzungara kwakaipa. Hanzi Yudha une mahwani ndichangosvika zvipindai mukoma fadzo. Saka varakashi zvavaita manje vafonera mapurisa zvikanzi ari kufamba nemotikari isiri insured. Saka inini manje patarova motikari ndakunopinda muLeeds ndamiswa nebig car. Ndati ndofamba mbona pandambobva pafoni. Ndobva ndamiswa nebig car. Saka motikari yangu yanga ichireflecta pabig car kuti motikari ndiyashepherd Yuda. Iri yakainshuwa musi wakati. MOT inopera pakati. Yakaiswa road tax musi wakati. Saka vandimisa zvikanzi pandimisa nditi can I have your license? Ndikati kukanaka here. Zvikanzi no it's fine, I need to check something. Ndobva ndamupa license yangu ndobva atarisa. Zvikanzi is this car yours? Ndikati yes, it's mine. Ndobva atenderera achitarisa motikari. Ndobva aenda pachimushini pake. Zvikanzi can you confirm your date of birth? Vandamutaurira date of birth rangu. Ndapedza ndobva atendera zvika no everything is fine. Ndikati So why did you stop me? Why did you stop me? Zvikanzano pana someone ati afonera police akati munhu anonzi 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜 ari driver motikari iri unlicensed. Saka chisingazive varakashi 1 mana 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜 2 kurasisa vavengi chaiko. Let's get son. No, X5 haisi kufamba. I will son it. I don't need it muroad. I don't need X5 muroad. Ndakufamba ne-E-class Benz. Saka X5 ndakangoipaka but ndakangoibvisa painsurance yangu ndichisa pa E-class. Saka ivo havana kuziva nhasi hana E-class, nhasi hana handina X5. Ndiri kufamba nechikwapuro chakanzi animal. Saka animal yanga iri everything in order on the off-road. Saka animal apa vangomisa kucheka kuti iyi motikari iri kunzi haina insurance, but vari kutarisa vari kuona iri insured, iri taxed, ine full MOT. Saka vashamisika. Saka pavandimisa ivo vazive manje, mavarakasha vazive manje kuti kurasisa vavengi ana 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜 itu itu ana 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜. Saka sometimes unomboita problem kuti 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗥 akaita zvaanoita mumwoko. 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗥 ari panapa ndosvika ndichiona panapa pakazara mapurisa. Because mwana wangu inini anda zvedhudhu, because anotraina karata, anda kudzidzira kurova. Saka anogara achiti pese akangopinda kana mabhawa kubumura mabhunu. Saka vakarohwa vanoti 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗥. Saka vakauya vanenge vakutsvaga 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥 ndobuda ndikabuda inini unozoita kuti no hasi ndiye 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥 watiri kuda. Saka vavengi havazozivi. It's very unfortunate atozovataurira nhasi kuti vana 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥 i2. Kana ukaenda papi cheka unoona ana 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥 vari 2. Saka unoziva ndanakirwa, nhasi ndanakirwa. Kazhinji ndowanzoabhusa mapurisa, ndowanzovataura kuti to hell with you, why did you stop me? But nhasi hana kuseka, ndanchikoseka chenchiputika chiseka. Andinibona. As I apologize, no, we are sorry, Mr. Yuda. This is information that we got this and that. No. It's not your fault. I know where it's coming from. Saka varakasha havana kuziva kuti X5 aiwa ndakaisa off road. X5 although ichine road tax everything, ndakangobvisa insurance chendichisa pane E-class. Saka havana kuziva manje kuti murume uyu motikari ari kumhanya nayo haisi X5. But amende vakapusa sei varakasha? They should look inside my car. My X5 is sport car. It's black mudenga. And vakunondipa hasha dzekuti ndidzosere muroad manje. Vakunondipa hasha dzekuti ndidzosere muroad. Saka they don't check. Steering X5 yakatosiyana ne steering yeMitsubishi. Top yacho yana driver motikari yakada grey mukati. Yakatosiyana neX5. X5 ine black mukati. As according to them, the vehicle is operating exactly. So they were saying I'm operating a machine illegally because it's not insured. X5 young, I no problem, but I just bought a new car. I bought another car. So the already in a road tax yayo hana kuibvisa paroad tax kuti ndikipe panze apa hana kuibvisa paroad tax, but everything zviri in order varakashi. Unoziva mapurisa atarisa so akati but why handeipi mukoma zviri sei ishava ndiri right. Anyway, that's not the topic of today. Nhasi ndangove interested, saka muona nanchikoseka nanchikonakirwa zvangu nhasi. Saka nyaya iri kuitika ndekuti ameno varakashi hondo yaenda kurwa naYuda havaigona, havaisimudzi. I'm protected by God. You don't waste your time. Government yenyu yakazvitadza, yakaenda Interpol for another information. Government yeZimbabwe, they approached Interpol vakati 𝗫𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗥𝗏 must be taken back kuZimbabwe. Amene anzi treason, handakaita treason here, ameno treason yavo kana vachiti treason vanorevei. They reported me to Interpol. Hanzi vaida kuti ini ndideportwe munobva kuno kuUK ndiende kuZimbabwe. Ndikataura ina hana mhosva yandakapara kuZimbabwe, not one mhosva yandakapara, hapana kana. So it's very unfortunate kuti zvavanoda kuti zviitike varakashi hazviitike. Ndopa unoona kuti munhu wezanu akadzungaira, vakadzungaira zvakanyanya, vakadzungaira zvakapetwa katatu kutenda katumwa katatu. Right guys, that is not the topic of today. Nangoti ndikuzivisei rwendo rwandafamba kuenda kuLeeds nekudzoka. Last time ya ndakaenda kuLeeds yayi, last week yo vakaripota zvikanzi ari driver ashandisa phone. Saka varipota kudaro mapurisa paakandimisa vakaona madhamu vachitora madhamu ndo vanga vane phone, asina phone ndini changu ndaidriver chete. Madhamu ndiye aitora road achiratidza vanhu, chimuratidza vanhu zvakati zvakatanga kare izvozvo, itori DNA yavo. It's very unfortunate. Ndakanzwa munhu aitaura hanzi zvawanda varakashiwa varashika muno muUK. Vamwe vedu vatogara navo maZimbabweans vasina documentation yakakwana. Saka kanzwa ndindachiva reporter kuHome Office kuti ndingavari kushanda. Munhu akaona boss vazhinji vari munomuka vasina documentation, havasi kushanda, but vanda voluntary. Saka kuona uchimukira vanda voluntary, vandofona kuHome Office, hanzi ari kushanda. Home Office yomhanya unoona munhu vaimubvunza, ari kuita voluntary, ari kutsvaira, ari kukinakirina, munhu ari kuita voluntary. Home Office, saka Home Office yakutotadza kuziva kuti maZimbabweans muri vanhu vakaita sei. Ndazi zimunangagwa team vari kurasika. It's very unfortunate. This is why you see up to now Zimbabwe has failed to develop our country. I was showing you how Leeds is developed. We can't develop country yedu kana tine mentality yakadaro. We can't. We are going nowhere with any Mkoma Ed. How are you? Morgan Nyawa zviri kufamba sei. So what Albert Einstein said, apana sikaziye Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said the world will not be destroyed by those doing evil. We see the people who are doing evil today. The world will never be destroyed by those people. But isusu who are watching, the people who are watching them doing evil without taking any action, we are destroying the world. As but maziba chiko kudaro. Angandigona here ranga ndakatadzwa. Ndairohwa ndakasungirirwa so nchirohwa. Ndakasungirirwa ndichida kuurayiwa vakanditadza kundiuraya. Ndiri mupenyu nanhasi. Pfuti vachitumwa vachinzi endai munomudhonza. Ndakuda kunopfurwa pfuti chidodori kukururuku. Vakatadza kundipfura. So why varakashi vari muUK? Can you guys do something vadzoke, including it's their right to be in the UK. UK I say opposition ka. Inyika British. So leave them to be in the UK. They have to learn something. As Mkoma Shepiro Maswera Shangopinda Bakebi Zurufamba Godo Regarwe Kuruma Charisingaji Inyoka Kutema Kuodza Kwede Kutema Kujga. So what Albert Einstein said is the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them doing anything. We watch them doing, we watch all these Mnangagwas doing evil things, but we are doing nothing. So we are destroying the world. You and me are destroying the world. This is what Albert Einstein said. To say, look, the people who destroy the world are those people who just watch evil people doing evil things, but without taking action against those evil people. So what should we do as Zimbabweans? We must take action against evil people. Every time evil things happen. Asi, munoenda kumasowere baba. Manzwani chimba katatu kutenda katumwa. Katatu akatumwa katatu kata. Ndosaka tukachifamba nemoya mutsvene waMwari. Paunobuda mumba unopfugama unamata. Mwari, ndakumboenda kwakati. Haungobudi ungembeva hanzi makuruwani sese Yudha varakasha havana chance kushandiswa chete vari kufa nenzara ndo zvinorwadza tasvikawo muchenje zviri sei. So what we're talking about varakashi ivava hanzi wangu mukoma zviri sei Hassan. So zvinoita varakashi it's because they survive on corruption. And mona there is too much corruption in the country, and this corruption is done by those people in power and those who are associated with those in power. This is the problem that we have. Varakashi vamunoona vai they are striving to do corruption so that they eat. They try to get closer to those in power so that they eat. And they claim that Zimbabwe is good, but hapana chiri good ku Zimbabwe. Vari kutambura vanhu vaya. Andimona. So the problem is corruption in our country is something that is done by those in power. And corruption in our country is done by those who are close to those people in power. Because what they do is, those in power and those who are close to them, they are immune from arrests. This is why you see they do corruption. They are immune from punishment. They will never be arrested. They will never be punished. This is why you see today's prisons, as in our privilege, Masuku. Tapinda, Tiripa Deben. Thank you so much. So this is why you see our prisons are full of political activists, but those doing corruption, those thieves are outside. Why? Because these people, they are close to the people in power. And those in power are the chief architects of corruption in our country. As a result, those who are close to them are immune to arrest and punishment. So this is what we see in our country. The magnitude or the rate of corruption is shocking in Zimbabwe. The magnitude of corruption is really shocking in Zimbabwe. We would expect Zimbabwe, for instance, they introduced what they call ZAC, the Anti-Corruption Commission. Guys, if I take you back, we are all Zimbabweans. We were born in Zimbabwe. We grew up in Zimbabwe. And anymore. The once beautiful Southern African nation, Zimbabwe was the once beautiful Southern African nation that used to be the jewel of Africa. Zimbabwe used to be the jewel of Africa, but now it's now impoverished with the dilapidated infrastructure. Ndosakamaona nhasi ndaswera ndiri muLeeds. As apologies tanonoka topic guys. Nhasi iri kuti mudzidzisi. Tikutaura about corruption noma. We are talking about corruption today. We are talking about corruption. I want people to really understand that it's not corruption that has destroyed Zimbabwe. It's not sanction that has destroyed Zimbabwe. Sanction came later. Corruption was the firstborn of Zimbabwe destruction. Corruption never destroyed Zimbabwe, but corruption did destroy Zimbabwe. So we are talking about corruption today. And I've started, Anzim Koma, you are a storyteller. Oh, thank you, Shoko. So what we are saying is, if you look at Albert Einstein said, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil. They will never destroy the world, the people who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. The people who watch those doing evil without taking action, we are the people who are destroying the world. This saying was done by Albert Einstein, I think 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected. Anzi kangoma kamo warashiki kanyanya kuririsa. Ya karaka kuririsa like this kode kuvaruka antaka vurira kudzidza. Thank you so much, Nati. So what I'm saying is, Zimbabwe was the jewel of Africa. It was once a beautiful Southern African country. But today Zimbabwe is impoverished. If you look at Zimbabwe, it has got dilapidated infrastructure. Come on. It has got dilapidated infrastructure. If you look at the social services are compromised in our country. The delivery system of social services is very compromised. The system, if you look at the Zimbabwe today, it is a country that is riding on a slippery economic slope. Through that slippery economic slope that find our country in. Our country is like economically. And the problem is that tolerate activists 𝗭𝗓𝗏 but we're doing nothing. This is why I'm saying the Zimbabwe government is doing evil by incarcerating those people. But who are destroying that country? It's people like you and me who are just watching them incarcerating those people. And we are doing nothing about it. They are weaponizing the law. They are taking the law into a weapon and put a prison as a punishment for people who actively involved in politics. But those who are engaged in corruption are outside. They are immune to prosecution. This is what I'm talking about today. That what can we do? We are just watching evildoers. We are not doing anything. So who is destroying the country? The evildoer or someone who is not doing anything? Because someone told us that failure to participate in politics, you are giving leeway to inferior leaders to lead you. If you look at ZANU-PF people today, they discourage Zimbabweans from participating in politics. They beat you up so that you don't participate in politics. They use all sorts of intimidation so that you don't participate in politics. What do they usher after that? Mediocrity. You look at the type of leaders that are given, that are produced by ZANU-PF. They are mediocre leaders. As a result, look at what they are doing now. They are celebrating the coming of Gutu. They are celebrating the coming of 𝗵𝗶𝗁. And those guys who are not 𝗵𝗶𝗁, ana Gutu, ana Shebundo, vari kupuwa positions ekuti vanhu vanoona kuti kuzani kwakusina kana chiriko. But at least they got they outsourced experience and skills from MDC. So if ZANU-PF ikatora munhu MDC kamuita ambassador, if ZANU-PF ikatora munhu MDC kamuita leader of this, leader of that, leader of that. So the people of Zimbabwe, you must open your eyes now. Kune vanhu who develops the country ndekupi? Is it kuzanu kana ku MDC? Because ukaona kuzanu-PF vachitora ku MDC, vatora vanhu vachivapa ma-ambassador roles, vachivapa ma-crucial roles mu government. That means MDC ndo ine cream tata. So if we are voting, we just need to vote ZANU-PF out because haina vanhu vanozvigona. Vanhu vanozvigona vari ku MDC. This is why uchiti munhu akabva ku MDC akaenda vanomupa chigaro, vanomupa kuita ambassador, kuita head of this, head of that, to show that ndo kune vanhu, ndo kune cream tata. Saka mana ndakavataurira vanhu vezanu ndikati ku MDC we've got over 1 million people who can successfully be presidents. I didn't know. So it is shown by those who are defecting, those who are going to ZANU-PF. If you look at those who are going to ZANU-PF, havasi kupuwa maposition emanga-manga. Vana Gutu vakutonzi vatohedha anti-chichi vana Gutu. Vana Chebundo vakasvika vakapuwa mari vakapuwa dzimotikari vakutonzi vatohedha zvakava. Vamwe vacho vakutoitwa maambassador. You understand? It's because vanhu ku MDC ndokune cream yese. Ndokune cream yese. Saka if it means you vote MDC, that means mavotera cream ye vanhu vaimukona zvavari kuita nezvavanozoita kana mavavhotera manje. Munotapirirwa kana nenyika. Zimbabwe neta leads yamani chikuratidzai nhasi. Zimbabwe will be a Leeds. Our Harare will be like Leeds or more than Leeds. Because we have got capable people in the MDC. People that you never find ku ZANU-PF. Nosaka vachiona vasingarare vanhu vezanu vachienda usiku nesikati vakabata dzimari vachidaidza kuti uya 𝗵𝗶𝗁, uya Khumalo, uya ni. Manje mbuya Khumalo vakaramba Tabita vakataura kuti to hell with you. But ZANU-PF inoenda usiku nesikati with money, try to quote experience, try to quote vanhu vanouya vakasimudza nyika. Saka that means the people who are capable of lifting the country from its quagmire ndo chete vanhu vari ku MDC. Saka mtora ZANU-PF ichichemera kuti tipei nhingi uyo. Tipei nhingi. Takavaudza tikati hamuna presidential material. tikavapa Chebundo akaenda, now they've got someone who can replace ED. Animona vana Gutu adara ma vice president, they can still replace vana Chiwenga. So we gave them cream yekuti vanotora vana Gutu, vanotora vana Chiwenga, vanobvisa vana Chiwenga, vobvisa vana ED, vese ana Chebundo nana Gutu, vovapa zvigaro zvekuti pamwe nyika ingaende mberi. So the cream is in MDC. Taura henyu mukoma chiduku siti hanzi MDC ndo ine cream yese yenyika. Ndosaka muchiona ZANU-PF hairari ichitira kudaidza uya Yuda, uya Ningi, uya, but isusu vana Yuda hatisati tasvikirwa, isu havasviki kwatiri. Because isusu vanoziva kuti we are bona fide MDC people. We are bona fide MDC. Ukacheka ropa rangu robuda red kuratidza kuti I'm MDC. So at the end kwandiri havasviki, vanokusvikirawo vamwe vakaita sana Chebundo ma soft targets. Anditi maona. Because Albert Einstein akataura akati failure to do something, that means you guys are helping to destroy your country. And which colonizers do you mean? The Chinese? I'm not sure. So we've got new colonizers by the Chinese. So our economy, our Zimbabwe economy is on a slippery economic slope. It's sloping. The country is sloping. How it is sloping, though the country is endowed. If you look at Zimbabwe, our country is endowed with several natural resources that can make you and me feed, that can make us feed. Natural resources and they can transform the poverty that we have today. Livingstone, so what we are saying is the natural resources that is Zimbabwe is endowed with, they are the natural resources that they're enough to feed you and me. It can transform or turn the poverty, trapped nation into something. It can give viable economy. Our natural resources, our country is endowed with natural resources which can turn our economy around, and it can make Zimbabwe a viable, it can give you a viable economy. As you are a good thank you, Zedias Mkoma. We are youth and we have power to fight these mafias. Yes. So the economic downfall you have seen in our country is not because of sanctions. Our economic downfall, the poverty that you see people in today, the sewage that you see flowing in all my locations, Edu, Anambare, Seko, all those sewages that you see flowing there, the poverty, the hunger that has gripped our nation, is not because of sanctions. Musafe makanyeperwa kunzi because of sanctions. It's not because of sanctions. Neither is it because of international isolation. Zimbabwe is not the first country to be isolated. Cuba was isolated before. But in Cuba they made sure that une chikafu, une firiji, une TV, unemba munhu wese. Although they were isolated. So Zimbabwe is not the first country to be isolated. So don't be fooled that because of this isolation, the poverty that we have, it's as a result of sanctions and isolation. We are not the only country that has been on isolation. We are not the country, if you look, these internal divisions that you see today, they are not even responsible for our poverty. But the massive corruption that has engulfed our country, the massive corruption that has engulfed Zimbabwe has led us to these social and economic hardships. We are facing social and economic hardships because of corruption. There is a massive corruption in our country. It's really massive. It's really massive. Ukada pakatanga corruption munyika medu, tasikambozoti kuti chinjonzi ma sanctions. Ani mkomasheba masukura se ndishangosvika. Atete Grace. Zviri kufamba ere mwana wamai. Vanhu vekulidzi vandi ignore. No problem. Andimona. So corruption is the massive corruption that our government ministers, our government officials, our government departments are engaging in. These have led to this hardships, economic hardships, and social hardships that Zimbabweans are facing today. It's not about sanction. Sanction hasn't been there for the past 40 years. It's not about sanction. Sanction does not affect anything. But this massive corruption that you see has undermined the already precarious economic growth in our country, and has reduced the resources available for the development of infrastructure. Corruption, it has shrunken the resources that we are supposed to use to develop our infrastructure. These people, if you ask them, they are banking Zimbabwe resources, mari dzegoridhe, mari dzemadiamonds, mari dzezvezvo vari kubenga kunze kwenyika. If you go to Dubai, you find vana mugabe vane mahotels. Are those sanctions? Masanctions here. If there were sanctions, vana mugabe vaivaka vaizonorapwa kunana Singapore, vaizokwira ndege vachienda kunana China. You understand? It's not about sanctions. This is where they are going to bank our monies. Mari dzenyika vari kubenga kunze kwenyika. That is not sanctioned. They are being allowed to bank those monies kunana Dubai. Vachinotenga ma properties kunana Dubai. That money is supposed to be developing our infrastructure as Zimbabweans. And someone will tell you that it's about corruption. It's about a sanction. That is not sanction at all. The public sector, if you look at the public sector today, and has weakened the anti-poverty programs, the public sector, kana taura public sector, tukutaura munoshanda vakuru maofisi hurumende machi vatarisa vanhu ivavo vese. Kana tikasa anti-sanction, anti-poverty programs haabudirire because they are weakened by that private sector. Saka musanyeperwe vakomana. Sanction is not doing anything. It's not crippling our economy. It's not about sanction. It's about corruption. I'm going to highlight a lot of corruption that you guys can see. So from something to nothingness that we are in, let's look at from something to nothingness. In the early 1980s, early 1980s, the country used to be the breadbasket of Africa. But around the turn of the century, it is now the begging bowl of Africa. Look at Zimbabwe. Where we were around the 80s and where we are today, we are now a begging basket of Africa. And we are a begging basket of Africa. We have turned our country into that. Why? Because of corruption. Zimbabwe used to feed the whole continent. Zimbabwe was a supermarket of every nation in Africa. And it's about corruption. Our country have seen massive corruption. And that massive corruption is being done by people in power. And is being done by people who are close to power. People who are associated with the people in power. And the people in power. What is facilitating corruption here is power. I'll put the word power in brackets, because it is the one that is power. Those, if you associate yourself with someone in power, or if you have got power yourself, then you engage in corruption. This has destroyed our country. It's not about sanctions. It's about it's about corruption. The people in power and those who are associated with those in power, those people are immune to prosecution. If I ask you, since 1980, Frederick Shaw was arrested for corruption. Frederick Shaw was convicted by a court for corruption, and Mugabe pardoned him. So Frederick Shaw, up to date, he has got this immunity to prosecution, immune to arrest, and they can do corruption without fear of arrest and punishment. This is where you see our countries in today. It's not about sanctions. It's not about sanctions. It's hypocrisy to call sanctions crippling our country. So with the rate and magnitude of corruption that we witnessed from 1980 up to now, then the country you would not expect any country to survive. Zimbabwe would not survive with the amount of corruption that we have. What Zimbabweans did now, as a result, they had an anti-corruption commission they call 𝗁𝗏. And to be honest with you, that 𝗁𝗏 aina mazino. That 𝗁𝗏 cannot bite. Cannot bite. If you look at 𝗁𝗏, it has to descend and pounce on the offenders. The purpose or the aim of 𝗁𝗏 was to defend and pounce on the offenders. But how many offenders has it descended on? Surprisingly, it's the same old story, ladies and gentlemen. It is the same old story. It's catch and release. No one is in prison because of corruption today. What they simply do, catch and release, that's the end of it. They cannot prosecute anyone, because you cannot prosecute someone are in association with someone in power. This is the problem that we have. Someone in power or someone who is powerful, you cannot prosecute his children. You cannot prosecute his friends, because it's like a syndicate of corrupt people. So what they only do is catch and release. In fact, it seems there are two laws in Zimbabwe that 𝗁𝗏 adheres to. Two laws in Zimbabwe that 𝗁𝗏 adheres to. One is for the ordinary citizens, and the other one is for the ruling elite. If you look at the ordinary citizens, corruption must stop, then you are sent to prison. And the one for the elite is you are untouchable. So if you look at in 𝗁𝗏 today, when it does its duty, it looks into two different groups. The elite and the ordinary citizen. The ordinary citizen iba sweet, unaona 6 months kujeri. Chugumbira iba 95 million kunasa. Awuyendeka na kujeri. Awuyendeka na kujeri.
Hello everyone, remember me?
Remember Ruby?
Hello.
I don't know where I put them to.
I don't have them.
You don't have them?
No.
I don't have them. I think that.
Hello. My name is Vivian.
What did you go to tech?
In the last
I need my
So what's my name? R-U-B.
Sorry guys, I've got I don't want a disturbance. I want a disturbance, but now I'll give you a spare key. After that you bring it back. It's a spare key. Bye-bye, Yashi. Yeah, I've got spare keys. Bye-bye, boy. Bye-bye, baby. Close my door. Love you. Sorry, guys. Ruby, Ashwens, and Hanzanu language, our people, you own nobody. Pagaipa. Mkoma Alex. Mkoma, I will ring you back. I'm live on Facebook. Sorry, guys. I'm live on Facebook. So, Nyairipo, and here good. 𝗁𝗏 has got two different laws that it applies. When it looks at the situation in Zimbabwe, it applies its laws on two different groups, the ruling elite and the ordinary citizens and their offsprings. Hence, we see the likes of 𝗦𝗶𝗍𝗪𝗧𝗔, 𝗦𝗵𝗔𝗔𝗕𝗪𝗪 walking freely in the streets of Harare. Surely, the anti-corruption drive is off track at a time. It's off track when the economy is impounding and bleeding. If you look at our economy, it's bleeding today. But you see the likes of 𝗦𝗶𝗍𝗪𝗧𝗔, Priscilla Mfumira, they're walking free. They've never been prosecuted. They even... Oh, where did you find it?
No.
Is this the spare one?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Sorry, guys. So what we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, our economy is bleeding. The socio-economic life have taken a nosedive in our country. Things are falling apart. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a joke. This is totally not a joke. And tell me something about the project CCP. I'll talk about that later. Chidugu, thank you so much. This is not a joke, guys. Not a joke at all. The social economic deterioration that we are seeing our country is imaginable. It's unimaginable. If you look at it, living citizens with a sense of hopelessness, Zimbabweans are hopeless today. Zimbabweans are hopeless, ladies and gentlemen. Life has taken a nosedive. Things are falling apart in our country. The national pace is at risk. And if you look at the situation, it has put you in a position of hopelessness. We are hopeless. Zimbabweans are hopeless. Zimbabweans are hopeless. It's something that touches me. That our country, we have got hopeless people now. The economy is bleeding. There is permanent, what we call permanent panacea of political quagmire that have exposed many Zimbabweans. And it has exposed you guys to an abject poverty. The poverty that you will see in our country is unimaginable. Nobody, no Zimbabwean has ever imagined that Zimbabwe would be to this level of poverty that we are seeing today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are reeking of poverty. We are stinking of poverty. We are smelling of poverty. Every corner you go in Zimbabwe, it's poverty throughout. Every corner you go, it's poverty. Every corner of the country, it's poverty. People are reeling of poverty. People are smelling of poverty. We are stinking of poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at whatever is happening in our country today, this country is not inherently poor by any stretch of imagination. The country has enough resources. If you look at Zimbabwe, it has got enough resources with the capacity of transforming the quality of Zimbabweans' life, the quality of your life. Our resources in our country are enough to transform the quality of your life. We've got enough in our country. It's very unfortunate that those things which are enough are centered on little individuals or a few individuals in power, not for every Zimbabwean. The problem is we've got a dysfunctional and a judiciary system. Our judiciary system is corrupt. We've got a dysfunctional judiciary system. If we had an independent judiciary system, definitely the country would have moved forward. But the problem is our judges are the ones involved in corruption. When we mean corruption, even election rigging on its own is corruption. The type of judgments that these people give is corruption. It's corruption. Saka zvinhu zvinorwadza, our country has stopped moving. It has totally stopped moving. And the country is an extremely bad, if you look at it, the other issue. Remember last time I spoke about tribalism in our country. I spoke a lot about tribalism. Almost 3 to 4 hours, and someone has requested for me to revisit the tribal issue again. The country, our Zimbabwe is an extremely bad ethnic birthmark. If you look at Zimbabwe as birthmark, it's the ethnicity birthmark that we identify ourselves with. It is so an ethnic minority group being almost wiped by ZANU-PF. We saw in Matabeleland, almost 20,000 lives in Matabeleland have been lost during the 𝗭𝗓𝗓 era. So we have got a birthmark, a bad ethnicity birthmark, which is extremely, extremely bad. That birthmark that we showed after birth of Zimbabwe, that birthmark is extremely bad. The 𝗭𝗓𝗓 era almost wiped the Ndebele people. plus thousand people. It's no joke, ladies and gentlemen. You have never, you feel so sad. How about 20,000 plus people who were murdered between 1983 and 1987? That birthmark, according to the Catholic Commission of Justice and Peace, that number, tikada kuifunga. Iyo funga ukafirwa na baba wako 1, unoita makore ese uchichema. Ukafirwa na mai wako, unoita makore ese uchichema. Let's imagine, mimwe misha yakawaipwa. 20,000 plus people died between 1983 and 87. Zvinhu zvatinofana kuconsider that birthmark is extremely bad for our country. Someone said, Shepherd, you should talk about it, talk and talk. Talk and talk until Zimbabweans see sense. And didn't want. So what I say is, may their souls rest in peace. The 20,000 plus people murdered by ZANU-PF, may their souls rest in eternal peace. And this affected us as Zimbabweans. It affects you as a Zimbabwean. You cannot run away from this. If you are a Zimbabwean, thinking about 20,000 people being killed by a political party, you should melt in shame. ZANU-PF people today are melting in shame. You are melting in shame. Issues of this ethnical, tribal functionalism, and the tribal fragmentation manifested into social conflicts that left some parts of the country marginalized. If you go to Matebelele and you agree with what I'm saying, and ekumaruva munoona unonzwa tsitsi. Ndaitaura nemumwe bhururu wangu aitaura zvikanzi mandevela havade kudzidza, ndikati vanodzidza zvikoro zvacho zviri kupi? Vanodzidza zvikoro zvacho zviri kupi? Hanzina mukoma Trevor, mukoma Yuda, onaiwo fuza rinonzi ngoni. Raiteiko ngoni fuza iri? Wasting our time. Ari kupiko ngoni wacho? Stop talking of Gugura Hundi. Urichi mwana pa Gugura Hundi, please. Hanzi richi mwana pakapera hondo. I was 10 years old, 9 years old. Pakatanga Gugura Hundi, I think nanda kuma 12, 13 years old. Hanzi mwana 13 years old, and ndova muri kukomba nzemiti wakaenda kuhondo. Saka I will talk about, because I saw it. I saw Gugura Hundi. This is why I'm saying, guys, may those 20,000 plus people who were killed between 1983 and 87, may their souls rest in eternal peace. May their souls please rest in eternal peace. This must make ZANU-PF melt in shame. This has affected every Zimbabweans, and to those who were affected, may you be consoled. Issues of this ethnical, tribal functionalism and the tribal fragmentation, they manifested into our social conflicts that left some of this some of parts of Zimbabwe marginalized. The country now is split into 2 major tribes, mainly Tebeles and Shona. This ethnic divide has led to nepotism. Look at this ethnic divide. It has led to nepotism. Today, I posted a video. Yesterday, I posted a video. Yevana vari mumatebhelele vakaramba kuti hatisuda kutichwa nemashona teachers. And if you go kunana mashona land, you rarely find a Ndebele speaking teacher. So this has left the country divided into 2 ethnic groups, 2 tribes, one tribe calling itself Ndebele, and the other tribe calling itself Shona. This has promoted nepotism in our country. It has promoted nepotism. If you go in employment, kana ari mshona anenge achipinza mashona, enda kumatebeleland, you find company yese yakazara mashona. Ukaenda ukaona paita company kana manager ukumashonaland anenge ari pacompany ari mndebele, you find the whole company is full of Ndebeles. So this divide has promoted nepotism in our country. If you look at the contracts on themselves, for good example, ukaenda kunana prison, unoona kana macontracts ekunzi pada kuti zvakati achipiwa macompanies evanhu anonga achinzi ava mashona kana kuti chii vashandisa nepotism. Mukasubmita matenders enyu ako hatariswi, vanongonhonga kuti ranhingi riripo here, mobva matonzi mimi oi matenders itai basa, despite that you guys lack even experience to do the job. So you find it's all nepotism in employment, it's all nepotism in awarding of contracts, it's all nepotism in business permits, it's all nepotism in services and goods themselves. Everything you want to attain in Zimbabwe is now attained on tribal lines. This is what has destroyed Zimbabwe. Already that nepotism is under the umbrella name of corruption. Corruption has destroyed Zimbabwe. And corruption has destroyed Zimbabwe. There is no sanctions on nepotism. Ma sanctions asi ndiwo ari kuti vanhu vekuZimbabwe vaite nepotism. Ma sanctions asi ndiwo ari kuti nepotism itwe even in employment. Ukaenda izvinezvi ku training depot yana prison, vana Chihovhu, ukada kuona vana vaChihovhu vapinda ku prison kuti vangani, vana vaZimondi vari ku prison kuti vangani, because Zimondi is there or Chihovhu is there. Nepotism yacha ukaenda, even the way they promote, ndakati Zaki inofana kumboita venture into how these people are promoted, because they are promoted on nepotism. So nepotism has destroyed Zimbabwe. It is a big corruption, or nepotism is a big element of corruption that is under the umbrella of corruption. It has helped to destroy our country. And in the case of Matebeleland Zambezi water project, apana asinga izive, in Matebeleland, which has taken nearly 40 years now to take off. Project, it has been talked over and over in every election. Some people in Matebeleland, they were voting ZANU-PF, that Zambezi water project will take off. Up to now, 40 years down the line, it hasn't taken off. I'm not sure if there is anyone who initiated it, because that water project started in around 1982. And around 1982. But it hasn't taken off. The Zambezi water project. So don't talk about sanctions when we start talking about a Zambezi water project, which was planned in 1982 up to now. Zambezi water project planned in 1982. There were no sanctions. There were no sanctions at all. And someone who has got guts to tell you that it's because of sanctions. In 1982, this project couldn't take off. So I want you to open your eyes, open your brains, to see if sanctions are really the cause of our social dilapidation. 1982, Zambezi water project in every election. And some people in Matebeleland voted ZANU-PF hoping that it will take off, and it never took off for 40 years. And we are still talking about it. And someone has got guts to come and tell you that it's because of sanctions. 1982, there were no sanctions. There were no sanctions in 1982. 1982, there were no sanctions at all. So don't ever listen to anyone telling you that sanctions were the ones that stopped Zambezi water project in 1982 to take off. It is corruption. So what is corruption to Zimbabweans? Corruption is a cancer. It eats deep into the fabric of the economy. Corruption eats deep into the fabric of economy. You know, tsenga economy. You need to chew the economy. Corruption. No corruption. Amurukone yakamisa Zambezi water project mari dzichidyiwa. Corruption has caused unprecedented economic and social hardships. It's not about sanctions. It's not about sanctions at all. The general population or the populace, the hardships we find ourselves in today are from corruption. Sanction does not allow Chiwenga to build 4 mansions. Sanctions does not allow Mutarama sanctions, which allows ED to build 3 mansions. Mutarama sanctions, which allowed Mugabe to build a blue roof. Do you mean there are sanctions that allowed 𝗫𝗫𝗀𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗔 to build a 50-bedroom house? So are these sanctions? The mansions that we see today, are they sanctions? Bona Mugabe ari kuvaka imba yekuti iwe waufoka waka 1 room in your life. Where are the sanctions? If sanctions can't stop Bona Mugabe to build a 50 or a 60-bedroom mansion, these sanctions, they never stopped Mugabe to build a blue roof. These sanctions, they never stopped Chiwenga to build 4 mansions. You might also see Chiwenga and Mary. Mugatarisa divorce property, iripa divorce ya Chombo. And then motora divorce ya Chombo mutase property yakaliswa ipapo. Tora divorce ya Chiwenga mutase property yakaliswa ipapo. Some properties are in South Africa. Some properties are in China. Some properties are in Dubai. Sakamondara sanctions has to stop all those properties. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's be informed. Let's open our eyes that the hardships that we find ourselves in today, these social hardships that we find ourselves today as a population, they were not caused by sanctions. These were caused by corruption. A cancer that ate deep into our social fabric, that ate deep in our economic fabric. Corruption is the major cause of our social hardships. These people have been stealing for 40 years, ever since independence. This is 42 years. These people have been stealing. They have been stealing. As I'm speaking, Bona, all right, a good example. Chombo wrote a letter to council. Kuti 20 hectares zipuwe mkwasha wa Mugabe ne $2,300. Ndikakupa $2,300 ndikatenda unotenga 100 by 100 meters unoiwana ere stand iyoyo. Are those sanctions? Are those sanctions, honestly? To say mkwasha wa Mugabe ari kutenga 20 hectares ne $2,300. Aikwane muno mu UK $2,300 aitenge baskoro. I will show you my baskoro ari muno. Ndaive ne baskoro ndaive munaro muno rakandikosira about 600 pounds randakatengerwa 600 pounds. Randakashandisa kucycla to France. That bicycle was bought for 600 pounds. 600 pounds, you ndikaitora nayo Zimbabwe ndotenga 20 hectares the land. Zvakamboitika kupi izvozvo? And someone has got guts to tell you that those are sanctions. So in development, this discourse, corruption is observed as a major obstacle, and it obstructs promotion of sustainable economy. Corruption on its own is an obstruction to the promotion of sustainable economy, and the country will never develop. Corruption itself has created a vicious circle of poverty. It's not about sanction. It's about corruption that has created this vicious circle of poverty. In the most developing countries, especially most developing countries, go to Botswana. Botswana probably is the only country in Africa which has got no corruption or less corruption. Go to Zambia unochema. And then unoona imba yakavakwa naMobutu Sese Seko. Akasiya vaka imba inenge blue roof yaMugabe. Now it's dilapidated and it's collapsing. Ndo mato musexiness yezvibheti. Imba yacho yakakurisa kana ndikakupa ukapuwa imba blue roof yaMugabe unzi Shepherd. Imba yo blue roof yaMugabe. Unoimaintaina nei? Makurira yakaita 2-3 years down the line unogona kufa usina kusvika rooms pa blue roof. So what I'm saying now is because of corruption, all these social hardships to the general populace are as a result of corruption, not as a result of sanctions. Corruption, as I've mentioned, it is a major obstacle and obstruction to the promotion of sustainable economic development. The country will never move forward. Corruption has led to creation of vicious circle of poverty that today kana vakuenda kunokambena vanokambena nemafuta ekubika. Because they know that with the amount or with the magnitude of poverty in our country, you can't afford to buy 2 liters of cooking oil. Mapurisa nemasoja nemagadjere mari dzavanohora haakwanisi kutenga 5 liters of cooking oil nesalary anohora mwedzi wese. So that amount of poverty, the vicious amount of poverty created by ZANU-PF, ndosaka vakuuya kwamuri vachikambena nerice, vachikambena nechibage, vachikambena nemafuta ekubikisa, vanokambena nemvura yekunwa. Ukabuda ukapinda panze mbare masewage chete, hakuna clean water to drink. Vanotouya bottled water to campaign kuti tivoterei will give you bottled water. Zimbabwe is the only country in the world with high literacy rate, but with the people vanotengwa nesipo yekugeza bare elangeni remugondia rekuti ukagezesa unenge uita mapundu uchivaviwa, unoswera uchikwenya miri wese, unopuwa bhairoro unzi ndivhotere. You sell your consciousness to the devil for a bar of soap. 5 years uchitambura. So ladies and gentlemen, the vicious circle of poverty created by ZANU-PF. Because ZANU-PF is the mother of corruption. ZANU-PF no chimai che corruption yes in Zimbabwe. And vese very aligned to those people who are powerful. They are immune to arrest and prosecution. Those politicians, they see themselves as the most powerful people in our country. Mazanu politicians. They are immune to arrest and prosecution. So it is regarded as one of Zimbabwe's governance challenges today. Ukazoona corruption yacho yazobatanzwa ne lack of rule of law. There is no rule of law in our country. Corruption plus rule of law. Ukaona zvabatana zvinhu izvozvo, hakuna kana nyika inosimuka. Ndosaka muri kuona nyika yedu iri zvayakaita. Izvozvi zvinopwanyirwa imba. Kunzi imba pawakaivakira apa hapasi. Let's go back to how this land was acquired. These people, they worked with Chombo. They acquired land as land barons. They sell that land to unsuspecting citizens of a country. And the ZANU-PF will come and destroy the houses that you have built. And those built houses, they say they were built illegally, but the land was acquired under the minister's nose. So there are no property rights in our country. No property rights at all. So no rule of law, no property rights. That is corrupt. The land was acquired corruptly from the council with the aid of a minister who is more powerful. And the people who bought that land, they are powerful. They are aligned to powerful politicians. They are immune to arrest and prosecution. They acquire that land. They divide and sell it to you, unsuspecting citizen. ZANU-PF will follow and destroy that house with land baron. And ZANU-PF land baron for that all. So, no property rights in our country. No rule of law in our country. All these all are under the umbrella name of corruption. And on top of corruption, Panama powerful politicians and those associated to them. You cannot invest in such a country. This is why you see Mazimbabweans mazhinji I am not going to build a house. Because you never know you are going to buy that stand from a land baron. 1 year wapedza kuvaka your mansion. Vouya vachiruma chimansion chanzi pachakavakirwa hapasi. But ipapo pakapuwa signature na minister inzi Chombo. Because haungasvike muHarare ubva wati area iyi ndeyangu. You can't do that. You have to go through paperwork channel and so forth. Then you buy the land. You sell the land to individuals. Then ZANU-PF government will come and destroy. This land was brought from land barons. And murona nyaya yacho. Pane imbontaura pane zvandataura pese. Mambona en sanction ipapa play en role. Does sanction play a role on everything that I've stated here? Does sanction play any role? No. It's corruption. Lack of rule of law. Lack of property law. But property rights apana. No rule of law. And ndiri muri kuona nyaya yatutaura. Mamboona pachipinda chinhu chinonzi sanction ipapo. Apana sanction. Apana sanction at all. There are notable problems. Akada se corruption. Problem. Kuna UK, they talk of climate change. In this country, they talk of climate change. They talk of poverty. Ukanzwa poverty muno mu UK. Mandara muna anemba pekugara. Anowana everything. But muna asina savings kwa account. Muna who can afford to eat on daily basis. 3 or 4 meals. Maiti naye omzukuru wangu wamuka. Hanzi wanga wakarara. Saka ndakusiya wakarara nandiri kuLeeds. Sanction ndo zvatikutaura etetelizi. Kuti wanzwa maZANU-PF vachiti phe. Does sanction steal 15 billion? Does sanction make gold disappear in our country? Does sanction make diamonds disappear in our country? Does sanction bring in Chinese to loot our country? So Exactly, 𝗭𝗵𝗁𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗏. Now ZANU-PF has created this massive, extreme poverty, and they're using that poverty as an instrument, as a weapon to control you. Ukasavotera awane elangeni bare elangeni resipo. Vanoziva chimgonde chinobva kuSouth Africa chinonzi elangeni chaicha. Ukageza nacho unoswera uchikwenya the whole day kuita mapundu. Ukaona vanhu vari kuZimbabwe munoita mapundu. Kugeza neelangeni chiba chesipo. So sanctions are not playing any role there. Sanctions are not playing any role on the rule of law. Sanctions cannot stop government to make sure that there are proper rights in our country. Sanctions cannot stop government to rule of law in Zimbabwe. Makaona masoja achienda pa kneeling position, sniping, killing innocent civilians, unarmed ones. Is that a sanction? Sanction cannot send soldiers to kill people. But corruption can. And the amount of poverty in our country, ladies and gentlemen. The amount of poverty. What elangeni sipononzi elangeni. Inogezeswa madongi ku South Africa is industrial soap. Vanowachisa mahovorosi, melta wachiwacha mahovorosi. It's not meant for bathing. Vanoziva alkalinity of soap. You agree with me? The alkalinity of soap. You agree with me that it does not. It's not meant for bathing, for human skin. This skin is very important. Skin yako ukapinza zvimwe zvinhu. Ukapinza zvimwe zvinhu muskini mako ukageza ne something muskini mako. Zvikapinda blood stream mako wafa. Andra Noma, yes, in UK munhu ari considered to be in poverty could actually be driving a 2018 car affording repayments. Yes. Those are tukutaura kuti ukauya ku UK ukanzwa government itaura kuti mutine poverty munomu. Munhu anemba, munhu anowana mari yekudya haafe nenzara, drives a beautiful latest cars. Pamwe savings kwake anenge ane 2000 and 1000. Government nobva kuti munhu izi ari mpoverty. Andini maona Brian zviri kufamba. So guys, combating corruption. But what is there in our country? The government has failed to combat corruption. Zvazosangana nekuti tinana climate change varipo. Vana HIV and AIDS varipo, cancer nekukona uko. Enozvana coronavirus. Yakumeka sure kuti China will be probably the richest after the end of coronavirus. Every country is running Sinopharm. And Zimbabwe government has been buying my vaccines like nobody's business. They can't produce their own vaccine. Vanenge vachinzi pfuga tsinzi nyaya itinamati pamoti ameni machina anenge apedza kugadzira vaccine. Makuenda kunotenga. You will remain in poverty. You remain in poverty. Because sanction already has shown that it doesn't affect anything. On everything that I've said, nothing is affected by sanctions. Sanction is not playing any role in COVID-19. Otherwise, when America vacho vatotipa mari dzekutenga mavaccine. Tikaita madisaster when America vanotipa mari. There is no sanction playing any role here, but it's only corruption of the connected people and the powerful people in our Zimbabwe. Mike Jirise, mwana wa mai. Andini muona. So it scares corruption, not sanction. Corruption scares away potential investors. No one is coming to invest in our country. If we have got no rule of law, if we have got no property rights, if corruption is rife in our country, no investor will ever come to Zimbabwe to invest. Corruption scares investors. Because why? Too much bribery in corruption. It increases the transactional costs of a business. Saka panenge paktoda kudemanda what is accountability, which will never be there when the government is corrupt. Corruption is a cancer, as I've mentioned. Corruption distorts efficient and equitable distribution of resources. Because in nepotism, unonzwa kuti Chihovhu ndiye commissioner of prison. Company inenge ichisupply matissue ikambani yaChihovhu. Company iri kutenga mazai ikambani yemwana waChihovhu. Company iri kurana magold mine eprison ikambani yemwana waChihovhu. ZAC ikataurirwa it cannot iri kuramba kusunga Chihovhu because they regard him as a connected person, as a powerful individual, but who is engaged in massive corruption. So this scares away even any investor and akuya kuzoinvesta munyika menyu. The Zimbabwe situation, as I'm telling you, is so pathetic, ladies and gentlemen. It is so pathetic. If you look at even our health delivery system, collapsed before sanctions were put. Our delivery system is in a mess. Doctors and the nurses are hardly paid enough to eat. That is no sanction. That is not a sanction. If you can afford to build 4 mansions, you can't afford to pay a doctor. If you see Minister of Health, who is also the Vice President of a country, reading a statement prepared to say a doctor is a rebara, that means a doctor can be paid $5, he doesn't care, then someone would say it's sanction. That is corruption. That is corruption. But sanction cannot stop you from paying your doctors. Sanction cannot stop you from paying your nurses. And these people can now hardly work because government cannot provide the necessary working environment. Tools to use. Doctors have got no tools to use. Avana kana maglovos ekupisikisa varwere avana vanachiremba. So you see, you find out, guys, that it's not sanction. It's not sanction at all, but it's corruption. So these people, they try to hide behind the name of sanction, which was, that sanction, right? It's not total sanction. This is just a targeted sanction. Sanyatwa iwewe. Let's look at mnagarasa Sanyatwa. Right. Kusa visita kwake Sanyatwa kuya ku UK kana kwenda kwa America. Musoja uyo kufurisa wanachinyepa. Here we are talking of an army commander who does not even know could 45 degrees the foot in the zip. Foot in the parallel to the ground. If he is asked, how many degrees does this weapon lie? It's 45 degrees. An AK assault rifle, which is parallel to the ground, and 45 degrees. He doesn't even know a basic mathematics, how to calculate angles of a triangle. Angle a foot parallel to the ground cannot be 45 degrees. Education and a basa, kuna basa. No commanders are who doesn't know an enemy is firing an enemy is firing at parallel to the ground. Parallel to the ground is 45 degrees. Hakuna kwatiri kuenda nevanhu vakadaro. Hanzi mwana wachihera I to visit your profile. So I don't shame, I will not waste my time responding to you unogara mukuku South Africa amena rutuko. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Health delivery is challenge. It is hanging in a dark crowd. The sector is collapsed. So many people died as they could not access the required medication. Whilst ZANU-PF top government officials, they travel overseas for medication. You look at the COVID pandemic, it has exposed the government's weakness on how to fight corruption itself. Within the defense minister, defense minister who was telling villagers, a gullible villager, achisapa public address, could answer God's punishment against the countries that impose sanctions on Zimbabwe. I'm looking at a defense minister, because COVID, when an outbreak of COVID, it has to be treated as an enemy to the country, and the defense minister must be involved. But involvement of defense minister, this is God's punishment against those who impose the sanctions on Zimbabwe. Atina kwatiri kuenda. His commander is looking at a weapon, firing at a weapon firing parallel to the ground is 45 degrees. Akuna kwatiri kuenda vakomana. And because the weapon yako must be 45 degrees, it must be 45 degrees to your board. Papa under 45 degrees, the weapon facing upwards. Can I parallel to the ground? It's no longer 45 degrees. Sanyato is 180 degrees. The weapon firing on a straight line angle is 180 degrees. It's not 45 degrees. So if you fire it at 180 degrees, it will be parallel to the ground and you'll be shooting anyone running away. Atina kwatiri kuenda with a minister akaita san opamchinguri, with a commander akaita sasanyatwa obvanzi yoita ambassador. Akuna kwatiri kuenda. We are going nowhere. We are totally going nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. So ZANU-PF government officials, even those who are overseas, I don't know why can't they advise their primitive colleagues back home. Once they fall sick, they travel outside the country. They travel overseas. And they were recently exposed by the COVID. Pangotaka COVID, vaitsotsonyo vakagara mumba macho kuti ukwire ndega ukuende. And what we are saying. So we have a problem in our country. Thank you, Nkomo Brighton. We have a problem in our country. Zimbabwe's economy did not start decaying today, as ZANU-PF might want you to believe. Did not start decaying when sanctions were imposed, as these people want people to believe. It started decaying long back before independence. It happened gradually over many years due to corruption. It happened gradually over many years due to scandals. There were a lot of scandals in Zimbabwe, and we still wonder how the country is still standing. That country could have been closed a long time ago. The scandals that took place in that country since independence. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never seen such scandals in any country and that country survive, or that leadership of that country survive. Corruption scandals in Zimbabwe have been popping out. They've been popping out, popping out of the bottle, one after another. They've never stopped. Scandals and corruption in our country, they've been just popping. They never stopped in our country. Never stopped, ladies and gentlemen. They never stopped popping out. They were popping out one after another. papinda GMB, Nakangai, papinda 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗶, papinda scandals popping out of the bottle. They never stopped popping out. And it became acceptable to the people of Zimbabwe. It became our business culture. Those scandals became our business culture. They kept popping up. 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗶, what, Dama, what, a lot of Cisco steel. When I'm Mjuru, Vakavharisa Cisco steel, she looted everything Cisco steel. You understand what I mean? You understand what I mean? Ukada kutarisa kuti kudhara, tikadzoka kudhara, tikada kuongorora kudhara, ukada kutarisa RAD concession. The way 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏 was made to sign RAD concession. It was like a scandal. It was a scandal. The RAD concession on itself was a scandal. If you see how the RAD concession, if we look back during 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏 time, the signing of RAD concession on its own. Let's talk about, I know, apana mnasina kuta history kuchikoro. Kana wakadzidza muZimbabwe, munhu wese apana sina kuverenga the RAD concession. How 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏 was duped to sign that RAD concession. Apana sina kuiverenga iyai. Anditi mona? Apana sina kuiverenga. History ya apana sina kuiverenga. Can you close my door please? Oh dear. 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏 was misled by the RAD concession. Vanhu vasisi John Rhodes ndo vakafurira vakata mislead and cheat 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏 to agree to sign the RAD concession. Anditi mona? Vakazofoma yanzi the BSAC company ikauya ikata zvakawanda. That was a deception. Tikabvapo tikaenda kune yainzi the Native Registration Act, which promoted inequality in land distribution, favoring the white minority against the majority blacks. Apana sina kuiverenga the Native Registration Act of 1936. You guys apana sina kuiverenga. Munakata history sanoiziva. Ndoya muri kuona yakazopa kuti varungu vawane ma vast pieces of land in our country. Ma-ex-iwayo, they left a deep and sorrowful scars in our mind as blacks. And if you see those acts today, revisit them. On a Native Act of 1936, revisit it. Go read it. You learn a lot from there. And we thought blacks have learned something from the native from that law. Apana munhu asina kuverenga history. Today we thought the Native Registration Act, as it was gazetted and implemented against the minority blacks, I mean implemented by the minority-wise to the majority blacks. We thought maybe ZANU-PF, they learned something from there. And instead they continued. ZANU-PF is a minority part, which is continuing with the same act of 1936. Kuti vanongoungana kuti isusu tiri maZANU-PF vari vashoma kudaro, vobva kuti this land is ours. Vopanana ma vast pieces of land. How can someone buy 20 hectares with the 2,300? $2,300 you buy a 20-hectare piece of land in Zimbabwe. That is the same as the Native Registration Act of 1936, which was used by whites to rob land from the blacks. And it's now being used by blacks to rob land from another black man. It is giving us sorrowful scars that will never heal. Those who did, the majority who never benefited from land, their children would want land. And this land issue has never been resolved. Because when we think we have done it, we have never done anything. So, exactly, Mkomatakudzo, ZANU-PF has substituted the settlers and became the black settlers, sharing the state land amongst themselves. They are a minority, but they are sharing the whole country amongst themselves. We had 3,500 commercial farms, and they were supposed to be distributed to 16 million Zimbabweans. How many? I didn't get land. How many of you got land? If I ask you here, none of you got land. So who got land? And Zimbabweans think deep about this. I want you guys to think deep about this. Think deep about this. The black settlers in form of ZANU-PF are giving themselves vast and large portions of land, whilst the majority blacks are being pushed into congested, infertile soil. Those people who were pushed by the white settlers are still being pushed by the black minority settlers. The Chilonga is a good example, where people are being moved from fertile land and it's not fertile land. Nikimangwana is now grabbing a farm, displacing over 30-50 families who were settled there. So who has owned land in our country? So it's like we never moved away from colonialism. And this has become a terrain of corruption in our country. If you look at whatever is happening now, post-colonial era under Robert Mugabe, where people have said we are supposed to be having independence, Mugabe created a pigeonhole. Initially, he was regarding himself as a pure statesman, but eventually who turned his fortunes of the war-ravaged country into misery. Zimbabwe was a war-ravaged country, which people still regarded as the jewel of Africa. Mugabe, his family and friends, they looted state funds. This is why today you see the alarming rate of mansions mushrooming in and around Harare. It's so shocking. If it was sanctions that have looted our funds, I wonder if these are sanctions that are building mansions in Zimbabwe, whilst we are in abject poverty. The whole nation is on its knees. The country's economy is on its knees. And these guys, they loot with no regret. They are not scared of the people of Zimbabwe at all. They don't look back to see what the people are saying. They don't even want to hear you talking about it. This is what Makona even Varashiki vachizara pano. So Makona Varashiki vachizara pano, guys. And in Mona, it is Bareta, ikepi. Brian, ikepi. But I don't like wearing it. I wear it like this. It's not a beret. Yes, Drew is saying, but still the ruling part took the land back and did nothing about it. It is better to hire land to people who know how to use it. They took land, they distributed it amongst themselves. They never distributed to the need. Bamwagapo mwana 77 mapraz. Mwana wa bona Mugabe agapo praz ari munumbu. vasati vaziva kuti mwana anobuda apa ibofu here, anoona here kana ndaone, anofamba here kana ndafambe, akapuwa purasi, kana anobuda ari mupenyu here kana anobuda akafa, was allocated a farm iri nhumbu. Iwewe murume mukuru unoti pfe makundebvu kudai hauna purazi racho. Ndakandiseka nhasi, nhasi ndanakirwa nhasi kuti taiona vafanana wenje anani vachiti pfe vachimhanya vachiti pfe. Kana pakubuda mabasa havasi kupuwa mabasa ka, ari kupuwa ana 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗏 from MDC, vana Chebundo from MDC ndo vari kupuwa mabasa kuzanu. Vaiti pfe vese vakangomira vari ngoti pfe, kushandiswa kusina chakunako mukurarama kwako. Unosvika pakuchena musoro, kuchena ndebvu, uri pfe, chaunacho hapana. Wakaona Shepherd akudhiraivha motikari achienda kuLeeds, vanenge vachifonera mapurisa kuti ari kudhiraivha motikari. Regai vanzi mastupid chaivo chaivo. So colonialism, it was just a substitute of white skin into black colonial masters. We have gone to invite Chinese to say, please, can you come and colonize us? Zimbabweans are under, Zimbabwe is now is colonized under Chinese. And in honor. So the invisible hand, what I'm saying is the invisible hand of the state as a stakeholder in destroying our nation due to corrupt activities are what we are seeing today. The the failure to distribute the resources of the country equally. National resources are being looted. They've gone to look for new friends, China. Rather than partnering us, Zimbabweans, they are partnering, calling Chinese, hey, come, let's partner us. You come, you guys, you take your share, we take our share. Don't worry about the rest of Zimbabweans. Vakashama muromo, we shoot them. Zimbabweans are being shot at. Chinese are shooting Zimbabweans. The army is shooting Zimbabweans. Vanhu maZimbabweans ataura kuti upfumi hwedu huri kuenda kuChina. Vanzi bo nyararai. Because the few people are benefiting out of these national resources. So there is no equitable distribution of our natural resources. The majority is not benefiting anything in Zimbabwe. Saka, there is no need to call Zimbabwe a free country. And this corruption, if you look at it, it started kudhara. And when that corruption started, it manifested in the government. Dr. Thomas Mapfumbo wakatomboimba kana musikazive. And aipa YouTube mono Google unzi corruption. Monzwa Dr. Thomas Mapfumo sing corruption in the society. And it manzo, yes.
Mom said, do you want Sada Matemba now or later?
Later. Oh, Matemba. Oh, nice. Go say, Mama, thank you so much. Sada and Matemba for dead. Yeah. I last ate them 40 years ago. 12 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah, good. So go tell Mom, not now. I'm about to finish my presentation. So I'll come and have, tell her to fry them nicely. Oh, I like Matemba. Hey. She has one now belongs to Chinese. Some funny buildings that I own a film Judicial. Those are which yazwa. Ndege ziri kumara dzichituta diamonds achibuda every day. And the beneficiaries are none other than Chiwenga na ED and his cronies. So, ladies and gentlemen, Toite is a Zimbabweans. Toite is a Zimbabweans. Toite toramba takatarisa here. Because now the government, vana Chiwenga, vana ED, they are stealing from the poor. They are looting from us. There's massive looting of our national resources. Massive looting of everything in our country. There is Abanyare. They are not scared of you. They build those mansions. Vachitama divorce proceedings in my high court. kuchiburitswa mazilist ekunzi 10 ma4x4 cars, 10 by 4x4 ma-Range Rover, in a country where we've got street kids, we've got no schools, we've got no working health system, we have got no food to eat. So if you look at it, fighting corruption has never been so easy in Zimbabwe. If you talk about corruption, you disappear. If you talk about corruption, you die. You die in our country. It breaks no friendship. Thank you, amen. You die in our country. It has never been easy for Zimbabwe people to fight corruption. It is a syndicate that involves top political elites and their associates. You look at the people who are doing corruption, their government elites and their associates. If you look at during the Mugabe era, many Zimbabweans mistakenly thought that he was serious about fighting corruption in Mugabe, when he was not fighting corruption at all. Little did Zimbabweans knew that fish rot from the head. Every serious corruption scandal has gone through during Mugabe's era. It has been done by his associates, Mugabe and his associates. And when we were duped to remove the most corrupt leader in our country, Mugabe, we thought probably E.D. Mnangagwa has learned something from Mugabe. And we thought he was going to introduce effective institutions to deal with corruption. Rather, he was bringing in, or he was ushering in, a politically captured environment where corruption would be more rife than during the Mugabe era. Today, we've got sick and frail institutions that are not working at all for the benefit of the public. And all the officials in government today are never even held accountable. Similarly to what Mugabe's elites were like. Mugabe himself, he used to preach one man, one farm. But he had more farms than any other Zimbabwean. And in Mrugona. If you look at even his wife, 𝗬𝗫𝗀 Mugabe, one wife, yeah, one farm, yeah. But they had more farms than any other family in our country. Manawe Munumbu, Mabona Mugabe was given a farm. Basara wazawadi mchabuda mwana mpenyu reka ndakafa. Saka tukubatwa unapwa atetelize munyika medu. Hanzi na Geti mukoma murise, I really love your programs. Even ndakatandara ndino ungoterera hangu makaita basa. Thank you Geti Matenga. Andini maona. So corruption in Zimbabwe is infested. If you look our judiciary system, once corruption infests your judiciary system, that's the end of a country. Zimbabwe is a closed case, it's a closed country. Because corruption in Zimbabwe today has infested the judiciary system. If you look now, the judges are the most powerful or wealthy people through ZANU-PF. They were all bribed with the farms. They have farms, very same judge. So they cannot deliver judgments according to justice. All their judgments, independent courts outside the country, they will be thrown away. But because they are captured, the judicial system has been captured, where power and wealth cannot escape them. Prosecution and conviction through buying justice. The people of Zimbabwe today, they are being sent to prison for no crimes committed. ukada kutarisa the case yaObadiah Mpofu, ainzi Obadiah Mpofu Moyo, who was involved in COVID-gate, was given a handshake of 300,000 when he was fired from government. And he stole this money with the 𝗸𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜𝗢 of Drugs International, a company believed to have been formed by Emmerson Mnangagwa. And this Obadiah Moyo, 𝗸𝗫𝗥𝗥𝗨𝗣𝗧𝗜𝗢, they all go to Mnangagwa. They are Mnangagwa's frontmen. Why is Chamisa silent whilst it is creating an inefficient one-party state? Mkomatafadzwa ndogara nchitaura. Regai ndidzokerera. MDC is not about Chamisa. Ndogara nchiudza vanhu kuti Chamisa haasi Rambo. Wokuti tinomuti watora pfute nanorwana naIdhi Mnangagwa nemasoja ake urwana hazviite. And then I will direct that question to you, Mkomatafadzwa. Why are you quiet? Why is Shepherd quiet? Hanzi Madipa, Eustace, Nandri Mlidzi nasi. Ndaseka nasi varakashi vako, varashiki vezanu vaiva. Kufonera mapurisa ere Eustace. Mazanu indawari stupid. Kufonera mapurisa hanzi Shepherd aru driver. Motikari isiri insured. Saka varakasha vasina kuziva vandoda ndichidriver ndiri live on Facebook. Ndichidriver motikari nichienda kuLeeds. Saka havana kutarisa kuti motikari dzasiyana mukati. Nana achidriver nhasi haina black. My X5 has got black inside. Ukatarisa Delina, how are you? Ukatarisa my E-Class Benz Mercedes, it has got black inside and here open roof. My E-Class. So when I was driving to Leeds, I was driving an animal. I was driving an animal. So they called the police. Vachivapa number yangu inini, the X5. Saka mapurisa panapfura inini ya reflector number ye motikari yandanga driver kwete X5. Saka vakaona zita. Vandimisira zita. Vakundibvunza kuti motikari ndeyani ka ndeyangu. Vakanocheka vakaona zvese zviri in order. Saka next time the police won't trust you, Mazano. The police will never trust you. Because why is it Shepherd? Always Shepherd Yuda. Kumidis bro, takamusunga Shepherd. Akatanga kunza aba phone. Because zvinenge zvirimo ma records. Ndakatanga kunza aba phone. Ipapo ndandire iPhone 4S latest. Munauta nzaba iPhone 3 iPhone 3 chine musana wakaita ameno ngekamba kudai. Ndochana ndakaba icho chiachi. Mapurisa akainvestigate wakaona ndisina kuba. Ndikadzoka zvikanzi akandirepa. Ndikasungwa nemapurisa for rape. Ndikaenda mapurisa, they investigated everything. Mapurisa akanditi, why is it these people hate you? Saka zvawanda mapurisa imi pamuno report apa vanotarisa manje. Namba yako yakafona kupolisi haibude iri private. Sorry guys to tell you this. If you put your number on private and call the police, mapurisa haibude iri private number yako. Even if you don't identify yourself, mapurisa anokaitoziva kuti number ndeyani. So kazhinji kacho they check on Facebook, they check vachida kuona kuti boss vanotsvaga veintelligence vanotsvaga every corner. Vonoona uri murakashi uri kuripota Shepherd. Muchazondiitisa hero imimi. Unoona sometimes hero unopuwa nevanhu. You don't claim. But so far everything that ZANU-PF has tried to report the police hapana chakamira. And who stupid wemazanu vana Shepherd too. I think people didn't know this. Mama message amotumira mas stupid ezano anotumira mwana wangu. Vanotumira Shepherd ne boss Shepherd nentainzana. Tasimba zvakafanana. Saka kazhinji kacho and takafanana, we look alike. Unozoona kuti ninda chena ndebvu Shepherd haana kuchena ndebvu. But mwana wangu anotumirwa ma message ema threats, we will kill you, we will vachitumira Shepherd Junior. It's very unfortunate kubazano. It doesn't work. Zvamunofungizira. Wavakagona ndofunga kana terrorism wakambondiendesa zvavakaita chinyanga. But haibudi manje terrorism manje kwavanoripota kwacho haibudi. Vakomana, ndisakamana ndaimba ndikati katatu kutenda akatumwa katatu. Tenda kufunga kumasoro. Katatu kutenda akatumwa katatu. It's very unfortunate. Police haina private number. Havazvizive manje varakashi. Paunofona kuti andinofona anonymously, I'm calling the police. Haibudi iri private number police. Vazozvifa kwazvinyepera. Once you ring the police, they have your number. Apo uri kuvapa false report. Kutanzi motikari yari drive wayo haisi insured. Amene kana walifa ndiri kudrive X5 here. I wasn't driving X5. I was driving an animal. Ndatokuudza iwani kuti motikari yandiri drive ndakumboisa mu4-wheel drive. X5 inopinda automatically. Andini maona. Saka you are always ZANU-PF people, I don't know why. You are always making false reports to the police about Shepherd Yuda. It's very unfortunate, guys. It will never work. Why can't you wait for me to commit a crime? I'm a human being. I can commit a crime. Wait for me to commit a crime, then report. Don't create crimes which are not there. It's very unfortunate. And zvazvinoita zvekuti vana Shepherd too. Nebhinya rinonzi Shepherd rekuti ngati mpana sa unozvimba muromo. Andini unorumwa nenyuchi. Saka don't ever call the police muchisama false reports because mapurisa they keep your number. And number yako kana ukaitenga nhasi mapurisa ndokuudza kuti number yainambobva yamboshanda. Yatongoshandiswa nhasi. And the location yako vanoiona. If you call the police, phone dzamazuva ano dzakanaka. If I call the police reporting, kana ndikangoflasha, ndikaringa mapurisa imbozvitraya. Yes, dear. German.
10 o'clock.
Takupedza kusara 2 minutes.
Did. Ndambotombouya papa ndikakuudza ipapo. I don't do them once. We are not doing them once. Ndabva kumba kuseni.
Indabva ngoi?
Zvine basa nemuri pamba penyu kana ndakuda.
Ndarisiri pamba pangu ndandiri kulidzi.
Aiwa musadaro weduwe. Aiwa, we know how to drive. We'll take the car.
You know how to drive, oh?
Yeah.
Did you take the car? Alright, ndakupedza.
Unodzoka muchipesa live yenyu.
Ndakupedza. Andizodzokera pa live nendakuda kuita school work.
I'm literally giving you 10 minutes.
Alright.
I'll be back here at 10 past 10.
Alright.
You should.
Animanzwa guys napo ultimate.
10 past 10.
Inonzi chiya muri kupa?
10 past 10 you should be finished.
Inonzi chiiko?
Ultimate. You know what I mean?
Ultimatum. Saka guys mirai ndiri kuudze. Don't ever usati ukatora phone yako iyi ukaflasha chete kumapurisa ukadzima. 2 minutes mapurisa anenge asvika pauri. Because ikoko vapinda busy varakashi. 2 minutes, flash the police, switch off your phone. 2 minutes, the police will land pauri. Phone yako yakadzima, position yako kungoiflasha chete kuti ngirrrr ukata. Mapurisa wako wandomhanya kutoya pauri. Kuti sei munhu aflasha akadzima. Saka it's very unfortunate. Kupolice hakuna private number. You call them, uchifunga kuti uri private, they come to you. Don't make false reports to the police. Don't waste police time. Police in the UK yakakatwa. As one day mumwe achaenda kukoti. Vanovaendesa definitely. But don't waste police time. Mapurisa akakatwa vashoma. They've got pressing issues to deal with. And saka vanga vachireporta X5. Apa handisi kudriver X5. Zamapurisa zamapurisa aseka so. Vaseka so mapurisa kuseka. Saka ndazoti ako guys, so why did you stop me? They apologize. No, we are sorry, Mr. Yuda. No, we are sorry. Someone called this and he claimed you were driving in an insured car. And we look at your car. It's your car. Your car is insured. Everything is in order. We apologize. Munaenda kujeri nazvo izvi. Siyanai nazvo kuita mafalse report kumapurisa izvi. mapurisa hakuna false number, they get your correct number. And mangwana uchafona futi vona ndiwe. Even on call box, yes, wafona ne call box vandouya pa call box yako ipapo vandouya. And mune makamera pa call box papo, kana wakafona ukabva vanokuona ndini uyo munhu uyo, vanokutsvaga vakakuwana mapurisa. So don't make my false incrimination. Usaende pa call box uchifona boss pane makamera. Pese pane call box pane kamera iripo. Ma building cameras aya ndo anokubata aya. Boss kamera inokunhonga inenge iri kuko. Saka UK inyika yavakagadzira kumeka sure kuti you don't escape. Andinoona. Police is already people of less intelligence cannot escape. Those are police. The police simply means people of less intelligence cannot escape. So if you are of less intelligence, you keep making false reports to the police. My wakazopesera mapurisa wada kwa prosecute and kazoramba. Andinoona. Saka people of less intelligence cannot escape. So you don't make false reports to the police. Unobaya. Unozoita accuse uriwe. How did the police stop you? Yes, they did. They did. I was driving my own car and they did. They had to check. Adimola. It's very unfortunate. So corruption in Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, as I have spoken, has infected the judiciary system where the powerful and wealthy can escape arrest in our country. Prosecution and conviction, they escape arrests, prosecution and conviction, the powerful people. And our judiciary cannot prosecute, they cannot prosecute these powerful elites. A very good example, case ya 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗧𝗔𝗕. If you look at it, the judiciary cannot prosecute him. And when he was taken to court, he was not even put on leg irons or handcuffs. He was walking a free man. So these guys, they buy their justice. It's very unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very unfortunate. If you see the underprivileged and the people who are excluded from their rightful access of justice, we've got a very good example. Anzi Liverpool 3, Arsenal 0. Was it Arsenal or Chelsea? A good example. Tinamkoma wedu 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗧𝗔𝗕𝗪𝗓. Last time I attacked 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗧𝗔𝗕𝗪. I attacked him. But ndakazofunga later. But 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗧𝗁𝗀 is a journalist, guys. Inini, I'm not a journalist. I'm disqualified to access information. The public must know this information. 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗀 can save information. Is a trained journalist. I know this information impart to the people. Yeah, I can't. It's unlike me. So 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏 is a blessing to Zimbabwe. You Zimbabweans, you don't really understand how 𝗵𝗶𝗁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏 is important to you. He's the man at the moment who is telling the truth. 𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫 So to me, my brother 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝘀, I know his elder brother because he already akatotena 15 and sad. The gentleman to me is a hero. He has got balls enough to confront the bull by the horns, which we all hope is still there. So let's give him support. Let's give 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝘀 any support that the guy deserves. And because zvese nyaya dzamuri kuona dzatakuziva kuti vana 𝗸𝗵𝗁𝗀 𝗀𝗏 neDrugs International yanga iri kambani yaMnangagwa and idzi ana 𝗭𝗵𝗁𝗀𝗏 dzakanga dzakasetwa naED, zvese saka justice cannot prosecute them, zvese tinozviziva. 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝘀 was arrested for exposing the COVID corruption. Hapana aikwanisa kuziva nyaya iyi. And just to try to conceal your registration numbers, Mr. Yuda, you know UK, anyone can run your place, auto zvese, insurance, test, tax, don't show place per live. Yeah, thank you, Noma. Because motikari yacho yava reporter Imotikari yandakaburisa muroad kudhara. Ndakatenga another car. It's very unfortunate. Ndakatenga another car. Saka pana 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗧, we have got a hero. A man who is fighting for you and me. A man who knows, who really understands our justice system. And the guy was put in remand prison for the COVID gate for 45 days. Ari mu remand. Asina na kutongwa nguswa mu remand. Unzwataurire kuti 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗍. Chief actors in this trap include the judges. Panya iyo COVID gate. But mune ma judges warimo. Wari involved in the stealing. These are the chief actors. My public prosecutors who are also involved here. Hanzi Blaz uye Dagi Ukwande wekudya chingwa na ED vari mota. Now 𝗬𝗁𝗍𝗧𝗏 is the newest cartel. You understand? You understand, guys? So 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏, if you look at the issue of 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏, there were chief actors in this trap, which include judges, which include the prosecutors, which include the police, clerk courts, and the prison warders. So it's like the whole state is fighting 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏. And all of these guys, they are given bribes. Nana drugs, nana, even police is not acting. If you see my files, they are like distorted. Docket running, drugs, so this case cannot proceed. The information written by the police is distorted, and evidence is destroyed. So we have got a problem of judiciary system in our country. The justice system is not working in our country. This is why you see these people, they won't run Zimbabwe successfully. So already, if you look at Obadiah Moyo, Nana 𝗸𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧's cases, they were destroyed by the police. They were destroyed by the judges. They were destroyed by the prosecutors. They were destroyed by the court itself. Saka, we have got a dysfunction justice system. So, ladies and gentlemen, no one was ever arrested for corruption. Munguaya Mugabe's tenure. During Mugabe's tenure, no one was arrested. We can say Frederick Shaw was arrested and incarcerated, but Mugabe pardoned him. Rather, he successfully promoted most of culprits for their wrongdoing. If you look at today, Idimnanga got perfected that skill, promoting Frederick Shaw. To say Shaw must be minister of something or is to be given this position. For the things that he did wrong, he was convicted for corruption by court. Ukatasawana Frederick Shaw, wana Kumbila Ikangai, wana Ignatius Chombo, just to name a few, ladies and gentlemen. Saka isusu don't that for today. Zakwana boss vamira vai. Saka regai titange mangwana tosimuzira mangwana, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget. So let's call this our part 1 of corruption in our country. And the people who are doing wrong things, evil things in country, they are not destroying our country. We are destroying our country because we are just doing nothing. We are watching them doing that. So good night for today.
Can I have the drug calculation book?